כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, כאשר הם עצמם עבדו בינם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר, כאשר הם עצמם אינם עוד בתוכנו. אורות אליך מבהיקים בהשקעת הליל, הם שמרים. There are stars, there are stars, there are stars that keep going, even when they're gone, to light the dark and guide our hearts. And the love we share, it goes on and on, shining like a beam. יש כוכבים, יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, כאשר הם עצמם עבדו בינם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר, כאשר הם עצמם אינם עוד בתוכנו. אורות אליך מבהיקים בהשקעת הליל, הם שמרים. There are stars, there are stars, there are stars that keep glowing, even when they're gone, to light the dark and guide our hearts. And the love we share, it lives on and on, shining like a beam. יש כוכבים.
We met Nisimi while in Israel in January. When Nisimi is on reserve duty in the Israeli army, no one ever wants to see him. That's because his job is to be a casualty informer, the dreaded person who knocks on your door and brings news of the unfathomable. How do you even deliver the message? I asked him. We speak the bare truth and carefully memorize every word, he answered me. We are not allowed metaphors like he's fallen or he's in the hands of the Creator. We say, we found him dead. He was killed in battle. When I listen to Nisimi, I remember honesty is compassion. It mitigates the inevitable disbelief and denial. Nesimi knows that he is delivering the most devastating news that a family will ever hear, and that he cannot prevent the anguish. The grief is necessary. There is no way around it, he said. My job is to sit with them in their unbearable sorrow, to prevent any more pain, and to stay with them until the community steps in and takes over. This accompaniment is not just for a few hours. Nesimi is there from the moment of notification through the last day of Shiva for every single death. That is the protocol. Even secular families who want nothing religious in the funeral will sit still for 7 days. It is so Jewish. Our tradition understands that we need mechanisms for mourning that will hold us up, encourage us to grieve, surround us in community, and teach us to have a living relationship with our dead. As you can imagine, after October 7th, Nesimi's already difficult job became nearly impossible. He wasn't sleeping, barely eating, but his work changed him. It's put what is most essential in hyperfocus, as if the world around was suddenly and newly in technicolor. Israelis have learned to make grief their companion, to build memory into the fabric of their society. Nesimi said that for most Israelis, Memorial Day is more sacred than Yom Kippur. Contrast that to the culture we have here in America. Memorial Day is for barbecues and appliance sales. And have you noticed, no one says the D word anymore. Instead, we say someone has passed or departed. He expired. A #1 best-selling book of last year was entitled Outlive. There is an entire industry profiting on outsmarting mortality and distancing us from death. In the 1950s, 90% of Americans died at home. But by 1990, 80% of us died outside our home, in institutions. Death has become increasingly private and unseen. We hide it, and we hide from it, hoping it won't find us. So when death inevitably comes, we're taken so totally by surprise. We treat sorrow like a contagious bereavement, allowing ourselves mere days to mourn. We fear memory, even the uttering of a name, lest it trigger the pain. But what happens when you don't get to properly mourn? When there's no ritual closure? When we don't allow ourselves time to digest our loss? Or the community around us ignores us or denies our grief? Then loss becomes a trauma, an exile, a wound that cannot heal. When Jews learn of a death, the traditional response is Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. Blessed is the true judge. These can be very difficult words to say, especially in the face of tragic loss. But it forces us to humbly acknowledge that when it comes to death, we are not in charge. We are accustomed to being in control, to having polite feelings. But grief can be wild and raging. Francis Weller wrote, "I have heard how fearful people are of dropping into the well of grief. The most frequent comment is, if I go there, I'll never return." What I found myself saying back was rather surprising. If you don't go there, you'll never return. And how can we support someone we know who is grieving? Let them go there. There is a story from the Talmud When Rabbi Yochanan's son died, his friends think the best way to console him is by sharing stories of biblical figures like Adam and Aaron and Job, who also lost children. Yochanan's response to these words of comfort was essentially, "This is not helping." Rabbi Yochanan lived 2,000 years ago, but well-meaning people still do the same thing today. In an effort to connect or to empathize or to cheer us up, they'll remind you that everyone has suffering, or they'll tell you about theirs, saying, "I lost my dad," or "I know exactly how you feel, my husband died. My sister also had that disease, but she's okay now." But a mourner in pain feels like no one could possibly hurt the way they do. It's a heartache that's all theirs. Don't move immediately to assurances that they will be all right. Instead, hold them in their sorrow as long as it takes so that one day they can be all right. Rob Delaney, a comedian whose 3-year-old son died, said of the people who truly walked with him through his agony, "They don't have to say anything, but if they sit there and keep eye contact with you and don't hold their breath and let it in, then you can move through it, and then you can talk about what to order for dinner." The world is full of beautiful and devastating things. We cannot experience our full humanity if we do not allow ourselves to feel all of it, and sometimes to be brought to our knees, but we don't remain there. Burial, funeral, Shiva, Shloshim, unveiling, Yortzites, Yizkor services. Judaism instructs us to build monuments of memory together for each of our loved ones. The power of rituals like these is how they create the space for remembering, but they are also contained and bounded. The concern that we will get lost in our grief is real. Our tradition guards against unlimited mourning, which pulls us out of the world indefinitely. After a year, our tradition gently reminds us that it's time to move to a new stage of memory. I think of Rachel Goldberg Polin, whose son Hirsch was brutally executed by Hamas after surviving for nearly 11 months of captivity in Gaza. And at his funeral, she began her eulogy remarkably with words of gratitude to God. Rachel ended by speaking to her beloved Hirsch directly. "I will love you and I will miss you every single day for the rest of my life. But you are right here. I know you are right here. And I will just have to teach myself how to feel you in a different way." How do we teach ourselves to do that? We have actually been learning this all of our lives. When we are infants, it takes many months before we understand that our mother still exists when she is just out of sight in another room. When we are children, we learn that a parent is still there for us, even if they are at work all day. As adults, we can hear the advice that a loved one would give us even before they pick up the phone. And after they've died, they're still right here. We just have to teach ourselves how to feel them in a different way. Rosh Hashanah, with its recounting of the creation story, reminds us that each new year holds the possibility of rebirth. And Yom Kippur, with its dreaded knock on our door, comes to notify us with the bare truth that we lose everything we love. We must accept that grief is a fundamental experience of being human. It's a reflection of our love. If we allow grief to be our companion and our community holds memory alongside us, we can find our love deepened, maybe even transformed, and our hearts awakened to the beauty that endures. So I want to share an image with you and a poem that accompanies it. This is what grief is: a hole ripped through the very fabric of your being. The hole eventually heals along the jagged edges that remain. It may even shrink in size, but that hole will always be there, a piece of you always missing. For where there is deep grief, there was great love. Don't be ashamed of your grief. Don't judge it. Don't suppress it. Don't rush it. Acknowledge it. Lean into it. Listen to it. Feel it. Sit with it. Sit with the pain and remember the love, because this is where the healing will begin.
Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid ki mimini balemot lachen samach libi vayegel kavodi av besari yishkon lavtach ki lo tazov nafshi lishon lo titen chastihad nirot shachad Torieni orachayim sova samachot et panecha ni'imot b'minem etzach.
We've invited 3 of our members to share about a loved one that they've lost this year. And for our first speaker, I'd like to invite Steve Korn to come forward and share about his mother, Carol.
I had a speech written, and then I listened to Flip's sermon this morning, and I kind of am going to basically throw out what I wrote. What he said hit a chord in that, life is a series of moments, and you could look at them on 2 sides of the same coin, in the sense that there's love and beauty everywhere, but it can also come up as pain, or it can show up as grit. So I want to say a few words about my mom, Carol. She was tough. and reminded of some of the stories of these IDF lionesses. And we're all made of different colors and different fabric. But growing up, like I broke my leg in first grade. Doctor said I had a spiral fracture in my right leg. Doctor said I'd limp for the rest of my life. One leg was a quarter inch shorter than the other. My mom said, my son will not have a limp. So she signs me up for effectively Olympic development swim team, where I hid in the bathroom pretending to have a stomach ache or have constant constipation because I did not want to go. But every day that summer, we swam probably 200 plus laps, and lo and behold, I did not have a limp. She was the woman who washed our mouths out with soap, didn't get up for high school, dumped a bucket of water on my face. But she was always on our team, and we always knew that. Where attaboys didn't come easily in our family, you had to earn them. You had to do something really good. We were not the family of everybody gets a ribbon or a medal. But when you got that attaboy from her, you knew you did something really well. You worked hard, and you deserved it. So while she was tough, she was so loyal and sacrificed everything for the family. We didn't take vacations as kids. They gave everything to us. We had everything we needed. We went to Marshall's and we had Keds. If we wanted the Nikes, I had to do the paper route and pay the extra couple bucks to get the Nikes, not the Keds. She was always on our team. She never gave an opinion unless she was asked, versus my dad, who gave an opinion to anybody who would listen to him speak. But all of this taught us, looking back on it, to have the gut, the grit, the perseverance, and the gratitude to rely on ourselves. I was talking to someone, said, we're all exploring and growing in our own journeys. And someone asked me, well, what happens if you fail? And I was like, I don't fail. I'll fall down and I'll pick myself back up, because that's what we do. And her toughness gave us those traits. She was meticulous. She had an amazing memory. She could tell you what you were wearing 12 years ago. She could tell you who was at the family party, and she would correct you if you were wrong on any little minutia of fact. And that character, deep character that she had, came out in a lot of her projects. So she made, 20, 30 hand-mated beaded jewelry that you needed. She had this magnifying glass that was this big, and you couldn't see anything, these tiny beads, and she made them, and now our kids have them, and my brother's kids have them, and my wife Stephanie and my sister-in-law Eve have them. And they're beautiful, and it is an expression of her attention to detail and meticulousness, and we'll have that forever. When I think about the colors of the person, what's lesser known is her softer side. So as tough as she is, she wouldn't get in a swimming pool unless it was at least 86 degrees. She loved to snuggle with her grandkids. She would read with them. She would cook with them. She would tell stories. She wouldn't show her vulnerability, really, unless to one person. He's in the room. Sorry, 1 second.
You're doing great.
Thanks. She relied on my dad in ways that she wouldn't be public with. She'd beat on him, but she relied on him for support, love. She let him take care of her. They loved each other, and that grew more deeply, especially towards the end. It was a symbiosis that really just worked. She leaves a legacy of her sister, my brother and I, 5 grandchildren, who admire her grit, her exactitude, and her colors. In the end, I looked into her eyes. If you don't know, the eyes are the only thing on her body connected right to the brain and the soul. You could see the tenderness and her guard down, at least with me. My last words to her were, "Don't worry, we got Dad." And then when she died, and she died, she didn't pass. There was a rainbow over the temple, and the end of that rainbow looked like it hit our childhood house. And all of the colors of her personality come out in that rainbow. And now every time I see rainbows, we all think of her. I love you, Mom.
This is a piece I wrote years ago for my bubby. This goes out to anyone who's missing a bubby or a zadie or a mom or a dad or a sister or a brother. It's called Love, Love, Love. When my words were still unclear, you were my mind reader. And when I could not face my fears, you were my cheerleader. When I took the path you didn't understand, you still stood by me and held my hand. 'Cause you loved me. When I tore holes in my clothes, you were my dream weaver. And when my friends became my foes, you were my last believer. And when I forgot the steps, you were my ballroom dancer. And when I failed to do my best, oh, you were my second chancer. I've done things I thought I could never do, and I found the strength because of you. 'Cause you loved me. When we needed you to fight, you were Muhammad Ali. And you fought with grace and might till you could barely breathe. Now you're safe in God's embrace, a treasure that we can't replace. And we love, love, love you. And we love, love, love you. And we love, love, love you.
Please read with me the familiar words of Psalm 23 found on page 10 in your Yizkor books. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God maketh me to lie down in green pastures. God leadeth me beside still waters. God restoreth my soul. God guideth me in straight paths for the sake of the name. Yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Adonai roi lo echsar minot deshayar bitzeni al menuchot yenaleini nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'maglei tzedek yancheni b'maglei tzedek leman shemo gam ki eilech begeitz al mavet lo yirah ki ata imadi shivtecha wa mishantecha hema yenachamuni taruch lefanai shulchan neged soderai dishanta vashemen roshi kosi revaya ach tov v'chesed yedifuni kol yemei chayai kol yemei chayai v'shavti beveit Adonai leorech yamim Adonai
like to welcome Tara Middleberg to speak about her mom, Judy.
Speaking is really out of my comfort zone, but I couldn't turn down the opportunity to share a little bit of my mom's spark. My dear friend David asked me last night how I was feeling about doing this. I told him I was a little nervous and still working on finding the right words. Oh, sure. Sorry. Okay. Public speaking is really out of my comfort zone, but I couldn't turn down the opportunity to share a little bit of my mom's sparkle. My dear friend David asked me last night how I was feeling about doing this. I told him I was a little nervous and still working on finding the right words. He then said to me, "You have an audience of one, and with her, you can't go wrong." He is absolutely right, because my mom was my biggest fan in every part of my life. She cheered me on, whether I was the best or the worst, and when I was the worst, she either had no idea or she just covered it up really well. I truly cannot recall a time when my mom was not on my side. Her support was honestly to a fault at times. I had big aspirations to be a singer when I was younger. The only problem is that I had zero musical talent. I begged my mom for voice lessons, and although money was tight, she said yes. During the concerts, she proudly sat in the front row and cheered for me, without earplugs. I took lessons for 2 years before my voice coach finally broke the news that she had done all she could with me. She may have rightfully squashed my dream, but my mom never did. My mom's life wasn't defined by success through career milestones or accolades, but rather through how she treated those around her. She was not a CEO or public figure. Instead, her career choices followed two of her greatest loves, children and fashion. As a sales associate and manager at Dillard's, what she did most was so much more than selling clothes. She had a unique gift for making people feel good about themselves. Whether it was finding the perfect outfit or offering a kind word, she understood that fashion wasn't just about appearance, it was about self-expression and confidence. She believed that everyone deserves to feel beautiful and valued. Beyond her work in fashion, my mom had a deep love for children, which led her to become a nursery school teacher. She thrived in that environment, nurturing young minds and celebrating each child's uniqueness. Her passion for family, kids, and making everyone feel cherished was evident in everything she did. In both of these careers, her focus was always the same. She wanted people to feel good, to feel cared for, and to feel seen. Mom was ahead of her time. In the 1980s, a period when differences weren't always embraced, she showed an unshakable, open-minded love. When our cousin came out to the family, she embraced and accepted him without a second thought, loving him as he always was. She had this rare quality of accepting people for who they were without judgment. It was a trait that she practiced in all parts of her life, from her family to her customers to her students. Her way of making people feel special extended beyond the everyday interactions. Birthday parties were always events to remember, even if they were simple backyard gatherings. She didn't need to make them grand. Just having people around, laughing, talking, and being together was her way of celebrating the people she loved. And even though she wasn't big on outward displays of affection or saying, "I love you," all the time, there was no doubt about her love. For her, love was shown in the way she made sure you had a pantry full of Fruit Loops, Yodels, and Ding Dongs, a special gift to celebrate a half birthday, lovely handwritten cards for every occasion and just because, or how she encouraged my singing and acting dreams, even though we both knew I had, well, no talent. I learned to care for my mom through her dementia journey by reflecting on the care she gave her dad during his own battle with dementia. Watching her navigate his needs with patience, kindness, and resilience left a lasting impression on me, even though I didn't realize it at the time. When it became my turn to be caregiver, I found her example became my guide, showing me how to offer love and dignity even in the most challenging times. She poured that same sense of responsibility and compassion into every relationship she had. Family, friends, students, customers, caregivers, and employees, they all felt her love. My mom taught me that making people feel loved doesn't require wealth or status, just a caring heart. That was her greatest lesson. That life isn't measured by accomplishments, but by the love and kindness we give to others. In her later years, when dementia started to take hold, a beautiful transformation happened. For a mom who was never much of a hugger or the I love you type, suddenly she embraced everyone. She would hug me, friends, her caregivers, the housekeeping staff, and the service in her facility's dining hall. Dementia, in a strange way, gave her the gift of expressing affection more freely. I cannot talk about my mom without emphasizing her tremendous love for her grandchildren and great-grandson, as these were the ones who gave her the greatest joy and the reasons for her biggest and most beautiful smiles. With every announcement of impending arrival of a grandchild, there was the same excitement and happiness as the one before. Number 8 was as celebrated and loved as number 1. She lived for the stories of all her grandchildren. Their successes and moments of joy were celebrated with enthusiasm, and their struggles broke her heart. Today, I ask you to carry forward my mom's spirit of kindness and her belief in the power of love. Let's strive to make others feel as valued and cherished as she made us feel. Thank you, Mom, for being the warmth, laughter, and joy that filled our lives. You will forever be missed, but your legacy of love and kindness lives on in all of us whose lives you've touched.
If I touched your life, I hope it was with laughter, or with a song, or maybe just a smile. Maybe something that I said rattled round in your head, and you saw the world through my eyes for a while. If I touched your life, I hope it was with meaning, and my presence here brightened all your days. A friendship grown from seed, or perhaps I met some need. I hope I touched your life in special ways. If I made a difference while I was here, sometimes it's so hard to tell, and harder still to let you know you've touched my life as well. If I touched your life, then let it be for always. And remember me with gladness if you will. Even though I'm gone, even from beyond, our lives will touch forever still.
Like to welcome Karen Block and David Morgan to share about their child, Alex. I should say young adult, although always a child to me. Oh, let me make sure that's on. Hold on, David. Okay, there you go.
Alex was the great-grandchild of German Jewish refugees from the Holocaust. But early on, their parents were not focused on religion. We figured that could be filled in later. Alex had other ideas. Studying their heritage, Alex fully embraced their Judaism from about age 12, led the rest of the family to Micah, and studied for their B'nai Mitzvah. We all became part of the Micah family. Alex graduated from USN and entered Reed College in Portland, Oregon, and majored in comparative literature. Their senior thesis was on gender stereotypes in Middle Chinese literature. That was a topic that took a lot of explaining to their grandmothers. In college, Alex made and relished friendships, found love with their partner Jessica, read voraciously, co-founded a workers' rights advocacy group, wrote for a literary magazine, frequented Vietnamese bakeries, and explored their identity. Friday nights were spent at Shabbat dinner with the family of Rabbi Dov, the local Chabad leader. In 2021, 6 weeks after graduating from college, Alex was diagnosed with an aggressive brain tumor and passed away 7 months ago. That's almost 3 years, punctuated by brain surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. Karen and I were thinking about Micah's High Holy Days theme this year, fear versus faith. Alex knew the odds were essentially zero chance of long-term survival, but they chose to live fully during the time they had. Alex sweetly and kindly declined to do what we at first thought was the obvious choice. Come home to Nashville, we'll take care of you, we'll hunker down. That was a focus on the disease and the inevitable decline. Perhaps, in retrospect, this might be called a fearful choice. Instead, Alex stayed in Portland, entered and thrived in a graduate school program in library science, moved in with their beloved partner, Jessica, volunteered, led a group of friends in learning Yiddish, started a Talmud study group, and was a regular at every bookstore and matcha green tea shop in a 30-mile radius. They chose a path of life instead of fear. Alex was a lifelong learner, rarely seen without a book or two, or maybe 3, and a teacher too, but so gently and kindly you hardly knew you were being schooled. We learned so much from them about their beloved Mandarin language and Chinese culture, about science fiction, about gender expression, and the fact that not everyone fits in a box. They were fascinated by a lot of weird and wonderful information, just so long as nothing touched on math or spatial skills, which was completely baffling for Alex. And Alex was just fun to be with, witty and game-loving and laughing, and usually up for almost anything. Empathy was Alex's superpower. As we said at Alex's celebration of life, even Alex's closest friends and loved ones rarely, if ever, heard a harsh word from them. At Alex's funeral service in Portland, we were startled and then humbled to hear so many friends say some variation of, Alex touched my life and made it better, or I was troubled and Alex said or did the exact thing I needed. Honestly, we have a hard time understanding how Alex could possibly be gone. It was such a beautiful spirit. And we take comfort somewhat in the legacy of their 25 years of living authentically and even joyfully, choosing life over fear. As Alex's friend Rabbi Dov said a few hours before Alex died, Alex, I don't know where you're going next, but they'll be lucky to have you there. I love you, my Alex.
In a moment, we're going to invite you forward to light candles. And the prayer on page 15 is the Yizkor prayer we say, asking God to remember the soul of our beloved ones. So let's read it together, and you can insert the name or names of those you'd like. And then we'll ask you to go ahead and come forward. We'll form a line at each of these tables if you'd like to light a candle in memory of your loved ones today. So Emily, I'm going to have you come forward, and I think Julie here, thank you so much. Let's read together on page 15. May God remember the soul of my beloved family and friends who has gone on to their eternal rest. In tribute to their memory, I pledge to perform acts of charity and goodness. May the deeds I perform and the prayers I offer help to keep their soul bound up in the bond of life as an enduring source of blessing. Amen. Thank you to Anne and Zach Stern for providing our beautiful music during this time. We invite you to come forward now. Do you want me to get a table from here? We'll invite you to please rise for the words of El Male Rachamim.
El Male Rachamim Shochein B'Hamramim Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina Im Geroshim Uteorim Kezohar Harakia Mazirim Lenishmot Yakireinu She'alchu Le'olamam Bala Rachamim Yasirei B'Seter Knafav Le'olamim ויתרור החיים את נשמתם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבם, ונאמר אמן.
Share the following names of those members of our congregation who died between last year's holy days and this year's. We think of Kenneth Lee Eisenberg, Alton Grove, Judith Mandel, Jonathan Biller, Gertrude B. Noren, Sidney Rappaport, Alan Grohlman, Jeff Harwood, David Ploshnik, Alvina Pereira, Homer Middleton, Dr. Daniel Bachman, Michael Walsh, Alan Elliott Goldstein, Joyce Abramowitz Margolis, Judith Richter, Carol Isabel Korn, David Crystal, John Holmes Wolfarth, Edward Horn, Dolores Edward, Susan Duffy, Maris Schwartz, Ron Abend, Baxter Overton, Alan Frohl, Joe Frontella, Esther Didi Denbo Lippman, Chip Alberts, Senator Joe Lieberman, Alex Morgan, Iris Weissman, Matthew Kurland, Ellen Oakes, Claire Schwartz, Elizabeth Lazar, Richard Dick Eskind, Mary Spencer, Erwin Schwartz, Patricia Helen Barnett Wind, Lizzie Kappelman, Eva Marks, Marvin Millman, Joanne Middleton, and Dr. Marvin Schwartz. If I neglected to mention the name of your loved one, please do so at this time. We are on page 20. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach irite v'amlich malchute, b'chayachon uvyomechon uvchaye dekol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may the memories of all our loved ones be for us every day a blessing. May their memory continue to bless our community, and together we say, Amen. Thank you for being with us for Yizkor. Neilah will begin in 5 minutes.
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through. that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
please join me in reading responsively. Pit huli sharei tzedek avo vam od ya. Open up for me the gates of righteousness, and I will enter in faith. Open the gates for us, for all Israel, for people everywhere. The gates of dignity, empathy, and faith. The gates of knowledge and love, meaning and nobility. The gates of renewal, song, and tranquility. The gates of wisdom and wonder, exaltation, youth, and old age. Before we existed, the story goes, God convened a heavenly council, calling on the angels, each representing a different facet of the divine. There was the angel of peace, calm and serene, and the angel of peace spoke first. "Don't create them," peace said, voice steady but firm. "Humans will bring strife and conflict. They will tear at each other and at the world that you made." Next came the angel of justice, eyes sharp and discerning. "Create them," justice argued, "for they will seek fairness. They will build laws. They will try to make things right even when they fail." Then mercy, with a soft and knowing smile, said, "Create them. They will love. They will forgive. They will comfort each other in moments of darkness." And finally, truth stepped forward, tall and unyielding. "Do not create them," truth declared. "They will lie, they will deceive, and they will twist reality to suit their needs. They cannot bear the weight of truth as it is." So God listened to them all and then realized, one, never ask an even number for a vote. Two, God didn't need the angels to weigh in after all, as God wanted to make humans. So God did something totally unexpected. God cast the angel of truth down to earth, shattering truth into countless shards. And in that moment, the choice was made. Humanity would be born, but not with the whole of truth. Instead, each of us was given a fragment, just a sliver of the infinite. And now here we are, wandering through life, each of us holding our tiny piece of truth like a shard of broken glass. Sometimes it cuts us, sometimes it reflects the light just so, illuminating something beautiful we had not seen before. But here's the thing. None of us holds the whole truth. We can't. We were never meant to. And that's why our work on earth is so vital. It's up to us to pick up the pieces, to look at the jagged edge of our own fragment, and then to reach out to others, to see the truth that they carry, to fit our pieces together, and maybe, just maybe, catch a glimpse of something bigger and something whole. Now, this isn't easy. It takes humility. It takes patience. And it takes a heck of a lot of courage. Because when we hold our piece of truth up to somebody else's, we might see that our edge isn't as clean as we thought it was, that our understanding is not as complete. But it's in that mess, in that beautiful collision of shards, that we start to see the bigger picture. Unity is the thread that weaves through this entire story. It's the reason God cast truth to the ground, scattering it among us like seeds in the wind. Because if truth had remained whole, if one person could hold it all, there would be no need for anyone else. There would be no reason to connect, no reason to seek out another's perspective. No need to build bridges across our divides. But God wanted more than an isolated, solitary being. God wanted a world where we depend on each other, where our survival, our growth, our very understanding of the world and the divine requires us to come together. The shards of truth are scattered not as a punishment, but as a divine design pushing us towards unity and towards connection. In this fragmented world, unity is not just an ideal, it is a necessity. Each of us holds a piece of the puzzle, a shard of the shattered truth, and it's only by coming together, by fitting our pieces alongside those of others, that we can begin to see the full picture. And that is the brilliance of God's plan. We were created incomplete so that we would seek completion in each other. So here we are, at the end of this very exhausting day, in this broken, beautiful world, each of us with a piece of truth in our hands. And the question is, what are we going to do with it? Will we hold it close, afraid to let it go? Or are we going to offer it up, trusting that together we might create something that shines brighter than anything we could imagine on our own? Unity is the heart of this story, the reason we were created not as perfect beings, but as those who need each other. And it's the lesson of the shattered truth, the divine nudge that tells us we're just better together. But we're more complete when we're united. And in that unity, we find the true essence of who it is we were meant to be.
This piece is from Psalm 27, and it asks us in these closing hours to be in the house of God. And there is some call and response, so I hope you will join us.
Up here on the bima for our final benediction, the choir's final Shemaz and the Adonai Hu Elohims, our closing shofar and Havdalah. Come on forward, please. Bless us and keep us always into the new and better year ahead.
Ya'ir Adonai panav ilecha v'yifneka.
May God's grace shine upon us and through us, and may we extend that light to others, everyone we meet.
Yisa Adonai panav Yasem lecha shalom, shalom.
And may each of us be granted the greatest gift that we are afforded. It is the gift of wholeness and the gift of peace.
Yasem lecha shalom, shalom.
Paging Rabbi Flip to the middle of the circle. We do. Can you do it from here? We're not doing this yet. We're shemaing first.
תקיעה גדולה.
So we make Havdalah to separate out between Shabbat and the rest of the week, from Yom Kippur into the new clean slate year. For those of you that were with us on Slichot when we made Havdalah, and of course you got extra brownie points if you were, this is the bookend that we anticipate and look forward to.
נשב על המרפסת ונזכור סיפורים נודדות. ילדים בחופשה ישחקו תופסת בין הבית לבין השדות. עוד תראה כמה בשנה, בשנה הבאה. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה, בשנה הבאה. 2, 3, soon the day will arrive when we will be together and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day dark new clouds will appear. Oh tire, kama tov yeh bashana, bashana habaa. Oh tire, kama tov yeh bashana, bashana habaa. Some have dreamed, some have died to make a bright tomorrow, and their visions remain in our hearts. Now the torch must be passed with hope and not in sorrow, and a promise to make a new start. Oh tire, kama tov yeh bashana, bashana habaa. Oh tire, kama tov yeh bashana, bashana habaa. Shana tova.
Hi, my name is Mindy Drongowski, Micah's membership director. We so hope you enjoyed being a part of our virtual community during this sacred time. Congregation Micah is a special place comprised of all sorts of people, cynics, searchers, and ardent believers, people of different races, economic status, and sexuality. If you are interested in finding more about what we do, how we do it, and where you might fit in, please do not hesitate to contact us. We're not difficult to find, and please accept the wishes of our staff, leadership, and entire community for a year of health, healing, hope, and happiness. Shavua Tov.